Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans, and I appreciate your taking time out of your day to join us. We have some important issues to address today. First and foremost is that, if you're not aware of it, House Bill 436, which is the Firearms Preservation Act, Second Amendment Preservation Act, I apologize, is currently being reviewed, and testimony is being taken in the House and Senate. There is a Senate bill, and for my bullet points this morning, I want to kind of review this. There is a Senate bill, a companion bill to House Bill 436. The Senate bill is called SB 325. Now, if you're not familiar, there is a witness testimony form that you can fill out, which is extremely important for you to participate in, because it enables you to have your actual statements and or testimony written in and read into the record. I filled out that form, and I did it on behalf of our listenership. And so I'm going to read this to you this morning, because not everyone will have access to it. And in addition to that, I will review House Bill 436, and then I would open the floor to discussion. Here's what I submitted. I believe that I can speak on the behalf of thousands of daily listeners to our program. Therefore, I ask this simple question of you, men and women, who are representatives of the people. Do you have the courage to stand for the liberty that gave you a representative position? Does your position not come with the responsibility to defend our state and federal constitution and the people therein from all threats, both foreign and domestic? Our nation is at a crossroad. Today, you stand as the firewall between a federal government who believes that our state has no say in our own affairs, that they know what is best for us, including the right to disarm the people in direct violation of not one, but two constitutions that you yourself have sworn an oath to uphold. Our founders well understood the dangers of a central government that garners complete control and then uses the courts to support a given conclusion. A mere 50 years from our nation's declaration of freedom from tyranny, Thomas Jefferson warned, quote, "It is too evident that the three ruling branches of the federal government are in combination to strip their colleagues, the state authorities, of the powers reserved by them and to exercise themselves all functions, foreign and domestic." Jefferson to William B. Giles, 1825. It is the obligatory responsibility of the state to interpose themselves and prevent enforcement of unconstitutional laws. The constitutions of both our state and national governments are, after all, only pieces of paper. They cannot enforce themselves. Only men and women, strong in their conviction of liberty, can accomplish that defense. Our states are the only real check on federal power. Edmund Burke is famously quoted, quote, "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing," end quote. And yet we have, as students of history, a long trail of empirical proofs of the path down which our national government strides. The federal position on firearms and their proliferation is diametrically opposed to liberty, for the simple reason that liberty is protected by the Second Amendment, rightfully placed with conscious thought by men who well understood the dangers of an unarmed populace. The laws and agencies that promulgate and regulate them are members themselves in opposition to that unalienable right. A right that is unalienable can no more be regulated than can matter and antimatter occupy the same space. Life and death are diametric opposites. Liberty and tyranny cannot simultaneously exist. Freedom and regulation cannot coexist. No amount of rationalization or twisted logical justification can amend our framework document, not if we are truly intellectually honest. Attempting to end-run the strictures of our Constitution, our constitutions, is the work of men who know the truth of that, yet scheme to defeat that which itself has delivered them into a position of representation and power. And yet they seek to void that which is the seed of our freedoms. Alexander Hamilton reproached, quote, "There is no position which depends on clearer principles than that every act of a delegated authority, contrary to the tenor of the commission under which it is exercised, is void. No legislative act contrary to the Constitution can be valid. To deny this would be to affirm that the deputy is greater than the principal, that the servant is above his master, that the representatives of the people are superior to the people themselves, that men, acting by virtue of powers, may do not only what their powers do not authorize, but what they forbid." End quote. These bills, which this body debates today, are a declaration wherein we cry out our liberty, our state sovereignty and independence, and most importantly, that we support and defend that which has delivered us from tyranny to liberty. So shall we rely upon one of the three powers of the same government who seeks to void that most basic and unalienable of our enumerated natural rights? I think not. Joseph Dacia, governor of Kentucky in 1825, elucidated that argument quite clearly. Quote, "It is the right, as it may hereafter become the duty of the state governments, to protect themselves from encroachments and their citizens from oppression, by refusing obedience to unconstitutional mandates. For, when the general government encroaches upon the rights of the state, I ask, is it a safe principle to admit that a portion of the power shall have the right to determine finally whether an encroachment has been made or not? In fact, most of the encroachments made by the general government flow from the Supreme Court itself, the very tribunal which claims to be the final arbiter of all such disputes. What chance for justice have the states when the usurpers of their rights are made their judges?" End quote. Today, we the people seek a declaration of our most basic and fundamental right, the right to defend ourselves, our families, our state, and if necessary, our nation. That this August Assembly declares this legislation is appropriately exercised and enacted pursuant to the police power of our state to protect the life, liberty, property, and freedom of its citizens, because these powers are reserved to the state of Missouri and its people under the 10th Amendment to the United States Constitution. And that's my bullet point. I would like to encourage each of you to fill out a witness form. The links are available on our website, and they are available on Facebook. Simply click through, enter your name and your information in there. Put yourself on the record, people. It's time for us to stop cowering in the shadows and cowering in darkness. Write your thoughts. Put them down on paper. Submit your beliefs, your opinions, and your ideals for public discourse. It is time for us to take a stand. It is time for us to take a stand. When we return from this break, I'm going to read to you House Bill 436 because I think it's very, very evident after reading it what this stance is about. And I think that it will encourage you to play your active role in our republic. We'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to America's Voice Now.
The area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, your Class 3 dealer for automatic weapons and suppressors, including Gemtech and Huntertown, with a great selection of holsters, slings, magazines, and gun storage options. West Plains Pawn and Jewelry will also do special orders. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West U.S. Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
Pacific Beach Tanning and Fitness is ready to help you look and feel your best in 2013. Start with UV therapy. There's nothing like a deep warmth of a tanning bed to ease muscle and joint pain and eliminate the winter blues. Next, step into our fully equipped gym and get in a great workout. Finally, reward yourself with a session on the PowerWave massage bed. Do something great for yourself and take a trip to the beach. Pacific Beach Tanning and Fitness, 110 West Trish Knight Street, downtown West Plains.
I'd like for each of us to remember that our Second Amendment, while it is second in place, is merely a backstop, a protection against all that may come forward as an onslaught against our basic and unalienable rights. And I know you hear me talk about gun rights all the time. But it's important that we understand and remember the exact reason why the Second Amendment exists. It's second in place for the clear and specific reason that it must be second. First is your right to free speech and your right to redress your grievances with your government through speech. Because if we don't have that, then we must resort to battle for every particular grievance we may have. And so our founders wisely put the First Amendment in its first place, that each of us has the right to redress our grievances with our government in a verbal and open approach. Yet failing for our government to adhere and respond in an appropriate fashion, the Second Amendment was put in the second position for a definitive reason. The premise being that in the event that we could not gain control of our government by the use of words and the use of logic and the use of reason, that we may have to, at some point, resort to what our founders knew to be the one separating factor, the one identifying and critical element that separated them from slipping into tyranny and creating a sense of liberty and freedom: the gun. Remember that liberty is often delivered at the point of a gun. Don't misunderstand what I say. Liberty is delivered at the point of a gun against tyranny, not the other way around. Tyranny can never use a gun to create liberty. And yet liberty, more often than not, must use a gun to defeat tyranny. I'm going to read you this House bill because I think that the initial preamble to this is extremely important for you to grasp. So if you just bear with me. This is House Bill number 436. There's a companion bill. It's called Senate Bill 325. They're very similar in their scope. This is titled the Second Amendment Preservation Act. The General Assembly finds and declares that 1. The General Assembly of the State of Missouri is firmly resolved to support and defend the United States Constitution against every aggression, either foreign or domestic, and the General Assembly is duty-bound to watch over and oppose every infraction of those principles, which constitute the basis of the Union of the States. Because only a faithful observance to these principles can secure the nation's existence and the public happiness. 2. Acting through the United States Constitution, the people of the several states created the federal government to be their agent in the exercise of a few defined powers, while reserving to the state government the power to legislate on matters which concern the lives, liberties, and properties of citizens in the ordinary course of affairs. 3. The limitation of the federal government's power is affirmed under the 10th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which defines the total scope of federal power as being that which has been delegated by the people of the several states to the federal government, and all power not delegated to the federal government in the Constitution of the United States is reserved to the states respectively or to the people themselves. 4. Whenever the federal government assumes power that the people did not grant it in the Constitution, its acts are unauthoritative, void, and of no force. 5. The several states of the United States of America are not united on the principle of unlimited submission to their federal government. The government created by the compact among the states is not the exclusive or final judge of the extent of the powers granted to it by the Constitution, because that would have made the federal government's discretion, and not the Constitution, the measure of those powers. To the contrary, as in all other cases of compacts among powers having no common judge, each party has an equal right to judge itself, as well of infractions as of the mode and measure of redress. Although the several states have granted supremacy to laws and treaties made pursuant to the powers granted in the Constitution, such supremacy does not apply to various federal statutes, orders, rules, regulations, or other actions which restrict or prohibit the manufacture, ownership, and use of firearms, firearms accessories, or ammunition exclusively within the borders of Missouri. Such statutes, orders, rules, regulations, and other actions exceed the powers granted to the federal government, except to the extent they are necessary and proper for the government and regulation of the land and naval forces of the United States, or for the organizing, arming, and disciplining militia forces actively employed in the service of the United States Armed Forces. 6. The people of the several states have given Congress the power, quote, to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with the Indian tribes. But regulating commerce does not include the power to limit citizens' right to keep and bear arms in defense of their families, neighbors, persons, or property, or to dictate to what sort of arms and accessories law-abiding, mentally competent Missourians may buy, sell, exchange, or otherwise possess within the borders of this state. The people of the several states have also given Congress the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imports, and excises, and to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States, and to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the powers vested by the Constitution in the government of the United States or in any department or officer thereof. These constitutional provisions merely identify the means by which the federal government may execute its limited powers, and ought not to be so construed as themselves to give unlimited powers, because to do so would be to destroy the balance of power between the federal government and the state governments. We deny any claim that the taxing and spending powers of Congress can be used to diminish in any way the people's right to keep and bear arms. 8. The people of Missouri have vested the General Assembly with the authority to regulate the manufacture, possession, exchange, and use of firearms within this state's borders, subject only to the limitations imposed by the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution and the Missouri Constitution. All federal acts, laws, orders, rules, and regulations, whether past, present, or future, which infringe on the people's right to keep and bear arms as guaranteed by the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 23 of the Missouri Constitution, shall be invalid in this state, shall not be recognized by this state, are specifically rejected by this state, and shall be considered null and void and of no effect in this state. Such federal acts, laws, rules, orders, and regulations include, but are not limited to, A. Provisions of the Federal Gun Control Act of 1934. B. The provisions of the Federal Gun Control Act of 1968. C. Any tax, levy, fee, or stamp imposed on firearms, firearms accessories, or ammunition not common to all other goods and services, which could have a chilling effect on the purchase or ownership of those items by law-abiding citizens. D. Any registration or tracking of firearms, accessories, or ammunition, which could have a chilling effect on the purchase or ownership of those items by law-abiding citizens. E. Any registration or tracking of the owners of firearms, accessories, or ammunition, which could have a chilling effect on the purchase or ownership of those items by law-abiding citizens. F. Any act forbidding the possession, ownership, or use or transfer of any type of firearm, accessory, or ammunition by law-abiding citizens. G. Any act ordering the confiscation of firearms, accessories, or ammunition from law-abiding citizens. 4. It shall be the duty of the courts and law enforcement agencies of this state to protect the rights of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms within the borders of this state from the infringements in Section 3 of this section above. 5. No public officer or employee of the state shall have any authority to enforce or attempt to enforce any of the infringements on the right to keep and bear arms included in subsection 3 of this section. 6. Any official, agent, or employee of the United States federal government who enforces or attempts to enforce any of the infringements on the right to keep and bear arms included in subsection 3 of this section is guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. 7. Any Missouri citizen who has been subjected to an effort to enforce any of the infringements on the right to keep and bear arms included in subsection 3 of this section shall have a private cause of action for declaratory judgment and for damages against any person or entity attempting such enforcement. Folks, this bill is arguably the strongest self-determination document that has been produced in a state for the last 50 years. It is a clear and specific declaration of our sovereignty, our independence, our self-determination, and our right as a state to determine what is in our own best interest, what is in the welfare interests of our citizenry, and in the best interests of our state. I strongly encourage you to follow up to this document with your witness form, which can be found on our website and found also on our Facebook page. There's a link there. You can simply click that link. It'll take you to a page where you can submit or fill out that document, put your content, your thoughts, your opinions, your ideas about this bill in clear and concise language. I'm asking you to participate in our Republican democracy. That is, ladies and gentlemen, activation. That is your duty. That is our obligation as members and beneficiaries of our republic. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to do a limited number of updates on issues pending, and then I'll be more than happy to take calls from our listeners. I'd like to hear from you on this. Feel free to give us a call on our Wits End Classic Barbershop hotline at 417-257-1111. We'll be right back.
Foster. 3 days to a deadline, President Obama heads to a shipyard in Newport News, Virginia, calling on Congress to compromise on deficit reduction to prevent automatic spending cuts.
California Republican Congressman Kevin McCarthy accuses the president of scare tactics.
This is not the time to be out campaigning. This is the time to solve something.
Virginia Senator Tim Kaine says he and fellow Democrats do have a plan to accomplish the goal of sequester.
Let's meet it through targeted cuts and revenues, 50-50.
But Republicans continue to oppose any new taxes as part of a sequester deal.
Fox News Radio's Rich Johnson. A 19th tourist has died in a hot air balloon crash in Luxor, Egypt, caused by an explosion in a gas canister.
It was really only when we saw that the pilot looked quite disturbed that we knew something was up.
Christopher Michelle was flying in a nearby balloon. The only survivors, the pilot and one tourist. Fox News, we report, you decide.
I know what you're thinking, punk. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5?
Dirty Harry gets all his ammo from the battery station. John Rambo, you guessed it. He gets his ammo from the battery station, too. So if you need ammo, go to the place where the guys who know about ammunition go, the battery station. They have one of the largest supplies of ammunition in the area. So make sure you're stocked up and don't get low on shells. Go to the battery station at 303 Washington Avenue in West Plains.
You have insurance on your car, house, and health. At Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance, we sell food and water insurance. We have Life Straws and Berkey water systems. Bulk foods such as rice, beans, and peas are now in stock for the do-it-yourselfer, as well as Mountain House and Wise grab-and-go meals. Let this year's tax refund get you started. Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance, 3225 Highway 62 East in Mountain Home, just a half mile past Walmart, 870-492-4030.
It's the 21st Annual Home and Garden Show, March 2nd and 3rd at the West Plains Civic Center. As 21 years have passed, the Southern Missouri Home Builders Association is still hosting the West Plains Home and Garden Show. To celebrate, today's trends and yesterday's memories will be on display with all the latest building trends and a little touch of nostalgia. Don't miss the 21st Annual Home and Garden Show, March 2nd and 3rd at the West Plains Civic Center.
There is this product on Amazon that is simply going crazy. The banana slicer, almost 2,500 consumer reviews. I've been trying to come up with an ideal way to slice a banana. Use a knife, they say. Well, my parole officer won't let me around knives. Or how about this one? What can I say about the banana slicer that hasn't already been said about the wheel or penicillin? Obviously, just a pure hoax.
Saturdays noon to 3 and weekdays at 7:35 for your Digital Minute. It's Kim Commando on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
Weather sponsorships are now available on News Talk 107.1 The Point. Get more information, email info@diamondmediaradio.com for complete details.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, cloudy with rain and snow showers. Rain for the afternoon, the high temperature 44. Mostly cloudy tonight, low 28. A mostly cloudy, breezy day tomorrow, high 42. Thursday, partly sunny, high temperature 42. I'm staff meteorologist Jim Rinaldi, and for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
You're watching your favorite TV show, and something important is about to happen. Your phone rings. What do? You can't pay attention to both. The same thing happens when you talk on the phone while driving. You stop noticing things like slowing cars or a light turning red. No call or text is worth a life. Remember, when you're on the road, stay off the phone. Learn more at nsc.org, a public service from the National Safety Council.
Okay, if you have any interest in the Amateur Ham Radio Club training program that runs on Saturday from 9 to noon, I would encourage you to get there. It started on last Saturday, but it's okay if you missed that first session. The sessions will be held at the Howell County Ambulance Building on K Highway, about a half a mile down K Highway near the Best Western on Route 63. Simply go to the back of the building, and you'll find a door there where you can go in. And John Price will be leading that class. The opportunity is there for you to educate and understand ham radio, how it works, and even to learn about how you can be a user of ham radio in the event of natural and or man-made disasters and occurrences. It's an ideal program for the prepper and the patriot, and I encourage you to participate. There is no charge for the class. You will need to buy a book, which you can get at Amazon.com. You can get that through clicking to Amazon.com on a link on our website at americasvoicenow.org. We appreciate any help that you can do by shopping through that link because it assists us. We get 2-3% of your total order. There's no RSVP that's necessary. If you have questions, you may call John Price at 417-372-1135. Okay, don't forget on March 30th, we have our reloading class, and on 3/23 or March 23rd, we're going to have a TAC 1 2-day pistol course. Please be sure to send me email at mike@americasvoicenow.org if you are interested in either of those two. Seats are limited for both, and so it is imperative that you send me an email and let me know that you are interested in either the reloading class, which will occur on March 30th, or the 2-day tactical pistol course, which will occur on Saturday and Sunday on March 23rd and 24th. Just put in the subject line reloading or TAC 1 or tactical pistol. Okay. Want to make sure I thank our folks and our sponsors over at West Plains Pawn and Gun. You can find them at westplainspawn.com and on Route 160 in West Plains, about a mile and a half past Walmart on the right-hand side. Outstanding organization and a sponsor of our reloading program. Our friends at Pizza Hut at Porter Wagoner Boulevard in West Plains. They have an outstanding lunch opportunity for you to take advantage of between 11 and 2. It's a buffet style, and there's a salad bar as well as open, 10 or so different styles and types of pizza, pasta, and other things. It's an opportunity to eat good and eat fun. Make sure that you visit our friends over at the Battery Station at 303 Washington Avenue at 257-1111. I'm sorry. At 257-7799. My apology, I'm giving you my phone number. The phone number for Battery Station, 257-7799. You can also find them on the web at batterystation.com. Our friends over at Stone Construction. Bill Stone does remodeling work, custom and new construction on home, farm, and commercial. Make sure you give him a shout at 293-0116 and give him an opportunity to bid on your next project. Our friends over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, the best damn bakery in 100 miles. You can find Mary at number 2 Evans Arcade, right off the square in West Plains, and you can call her at 255-2253. Also, our friends at Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance. You can find them on the web at ozarkmtnselfreliance.com. They are located at 3225 Route 62, 1/2 mile east of Walmart in Mountain Home. And you can call them at 870-492-4030. Make sure that you please support and patronize our sponsors. That is how we stay on the air, folks. Also, would like to throw a thank you to Jason from Wits End Classic Barbershop. He is the sponsor of our telephone lines and our Wits End Classic Barbershop hotline. That number, again, if you'd like to call in and discuss this issue of HB 436 or SB 325 today, 417-257-1111 and or 866-554-6636. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike. This is Michael Jones. How you doing?
Hey, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing real good. Have you heard about our Second Amendment rally we're having this Saturday in Hartshorn?
I had, and I believe we put a link up on our Facebook page to that.
Okay. All right. That's what I was calling for. I just wanted everybody to feel welcome. We're going to have...
I'm not sure. Where is Hartshorn?
It's just north a few miles of Summersville.
Okay.
On K Highway. We'll have signs out there. It's real easy to find. Command Sergeant Major Daniel Page, he just retired January 1st. He's going to be there speaking from 9 a.m. in the morning till mid-morning, or mid-afternoon, I apologize, mid-afternoon. I've spoke with Daniel Page several times on the phone. He is a wealth of information. He knows what's going on in the military, and he's going to be sharing this information, no holds barred.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
All right, so give us the date again.
It's March 2nd.
March
This coming
2nd.
Saturday.
That is Saturday, folks. And it's
Yes.
going to be from, 9 o'clock until whenever?
Yes, just whenever, roughly 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
And it's a quarter mile west off of K Highway on County Road 354.
All right.
There will be plenty of signs out. They'd have to be blind not to find us.
I got you. Okay, so basically just head up towards Summersville, and you'll have signs out there on the main roads.
Yes, we will be serving a light lunch. It's just going to be a really good time, God-centered. Bunch of men getting together, supporting each other on our Second Amendment.
And women.
Oh, yes. Yes, definitely. Children, bring your family. This is a family event.
Gotcha. Outstanding. I will endeavor to be there. I can't promise you that I will because I have to be here until 9, and it would take me a while to get up there from that point. But I'm endeavoring to try to get there. I'm just trying to work it out on my schedule. So
we'll hope you can make it. We'd love to see you.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate the reminder for our folks out at home.
All right.
Thanks so much. Have a great day. Folks, if you'd like to comment on our discussion this morning on House Bill 436, please do that. I'd love to hear from you and provide you with an opportunity to have your voice heard. Good morning.
I'm sorry. I must have dialed the wrong number. Sorry.
All right. Wow. House Bill 436 and its companion bill, Senate Bill 325, are clear and defined declarations on how we can help to nullify federal overreach in our state. In fact, the 10th Amendment Center is actively promoting and driving the passage of House Bills 436 and 325 because they recognize that as a 10th Amendment claim, this is perhaps the strongest. Let me rephrase that. This is not perhaps. This is the strongest declaration from any state in the 50 states in the Union as to an individual state's declared sovereignty on the issue of Second Amendment rights. Now, the purpose behind, and by the way, I'm really enamored with the idea that Missouri can be a leader and the tip of the spear on Second Amendment rights on a nationwide basis. Because what it does is it enables us to drive forward not only legislation along the lines of our Second Amendment rights, but it empowers and encourages our representatives in our state assembly to begin to look at other areas where we know that there is significant levels of federal overreach. Now, you know, you've heard me doing for the past couple of weeks, I've been on this kick about administrative agencies, and I've actually written some legislation for that, which I will be talking to members in the House about getting some sponsors and co-sponsors for. The issue of the idea of creating a firewall around our state is so critical to our survival now because we recognize and we have to admit to ourselves, if not publicly, at least to ourselves, that we have lost our national government. It is stepped beyond the boundaries and the borders of our control. You heard me say that, and I said it because I meant it. Our national government is slipping or has already slipped beyond our ability to control it. Our federal government has now become the equivalent of a feral dog. It cannot be brought back in alignment without the states standing up and declaring their independence and their sovereignty and their ability to manage their own affairs on issues which are not constitutionally enumerated and delegated to the central government. Okay? You have to recognize the importance of these types of statements. We've seen, I think it's, 14 states now have passed the Firearms Freedom Act. And those states were heralded as being the leaders in the independence and state sovereignty movement. However, I'm here to tell you, House Bill 436 and Senate Bill 325 exceed exceed the Firearms Freedom Act because they go further. They don't say that merely those guns that are manufactured in Missouri and stamped manufactured in Missouri are separate and apart. All firearms, all ammunition, all accessories, without limit, are the purview of this state and this state alone. And no federal oversight or overreach will be broached. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, be more than happy to wrap this program up for you and give you some updates on a couple of other things happening. We'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to America's Voice Now.
The area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry.
Online at westplainspawn.com.
Top of the line new and used optics from Nikon, Leopold, Burris, Redfield, Zeiss, and Schmidt & Bender. Ask about their selection of binoculars, laser sights, and night vision goggles. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West US Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com. Family Fun and Fitness, LLC presents rape and assault prevention classes at Country Cupboard in Licking, Missouri. Men, women, boys, and girls, if you want to know how to stack the deck in your favor in a situation where violence is the only answer, this class is for you. Rape and assault prevention classes are held Monday evenings at 5:30 beginning February 11th and run through March 18th. Class size is limited, so call today 417-260-1006 or register at Country Cupboard, 217 North Highway 63 in Licking.
Miller Accounting is preparing tax returns and offering refund transfers for their clients. Their goal? Prepare your tax return timely, accurately, and confidentially in a stress-free environment. Get your refund by direct deposit, check, or debit card. Call 417-934-6132. Mention this station's call letters and receive $10 off. Caution, this offer will self-destruct April 15th.
A doomsday deadline looms in Washington on the next Alan Colmes Show. With just a week to go until the sequester hits, is America on the brink of fiscal disaster? We'll compare the rhetoric to the facts, and we'll take a close look at the blame game. Plus, you can be part of the debate. Pick up the phone, call in, make your voice heard on the next Alan Colmes Show.
Weekdays 9 to midnight. It's the Alan Colmes Show on the Ozarks Best News Talk, 107.1 The Point.
Okay, we return. Go ahead, caller, and welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, I heard you mention 436, the registering and tracking of gun owners. Yesterday, for those that weren't listening to Glenn Beck, he reported the Federal Appeals Court ruled that there was no right to carry concealed.
Yep.
Now, I only agree with that if you've applied for permission buying through a CCW permit, which is nothing but a license, which is defined as permission to violate law, tort, or a trespass, or licentiousness. And I think that they figured this out all along, that at least we can register the owners, and that'll be one way we can pick up guns.
Well, that's why I said this morning, and in the piece that I submitted as my witness form, in favor of HB 436 and 320 and Senate Bill 325, that we cannot allow the courts to determine what is in our best interest, because the courts themselves are voting in their own favor. In other words, the courts themselves have no right to declare that which the Constitution does not give them the authority to rule upon. And if we go back to the basic premise that the Constitution has a very, very limited and enumerated number of rights that are granted to it, or powers, I should say, not rights, but powers that are granted to it, they are all subject to the Bill of Rights and the amendments to that Constitution, which are first and foremost the right to redress your grievances with your government, and secondly, to defend that government against tyranny, we're all three, the legislative, the judicial, and the executive, to gang up together for all intents and purposes and attempt to thwart those rights. And so looking to the Supreme Court to protect us is actually an exercise in futility, because the Supreme Court is actually a division of that which is attempting to oppress us.
Yeah, and we don't want to forget that when you register for a concealed carry permit, there's a fee involved, and a fee is always a tax, and they can tax you right out of existence. The power to tax is a power to destroy. And, I'm glad there's a lot of people running around with them out there, but they're doing it to be legal. And I think the question is, what is lawful?
Well, okay, but hang on a second. Recognize immediately that this Second Amendment Preservation Act eliminates that entirely. So by voting for this, the people are correcting the wrong that's been done. Remember, you cannot, and I don't care what the Ninth Circuit says. I don't care what the Ninth Circuit says. And I'll read it to you again. Joseph Dacia, the governor of Kentucky in 1825. It is the right, as it may hereafter become the duty of state governments, to protect themselves from encroachments and their citizens from oppression by refusing obedience to unconstitutional mandates. For when the general government encroaches upon the right of the state, I ask you, is it a safe principle to admit that a portion of the power shall have the right to determine finally whether an encroachment has been made or not? In fact, most encroachments made by the general government flow from the Supreme Court itself, and the very tribunal which claims to be the final arbiter of all such disputes. What chance is there for justice in the states? What chance for justice have the states when the usurpers of their rights are made their judge? And again, I reiterate, folks, I don't care what the Ninth Circuit Court says, and I don't even care if the Supreme Court upholds it. The simple answer is this. You cannot, there is no twisted rationale, and I use this phrase very clearly and specifically, that you cannot use a twisted rationale. No amount of rationalization or twisted logical justification can amend our framework document. Not if we are truly intellectually honest.
Yeah, I agree, Mike. And these two bills are the best ones I've seen come down the pike.
They're the best in the country.
Yes, I'll be calling Show Me State myself and pass it around. So
absolutely.
Let's make sure we got this right. HB 436 and SB 325. Is that correct?
That's right.
All right. Hey,
and
Mike,
we need to be sending our witness forms in on that. Find a witness form link on Facebook.com/America's Voice Now, because it is important that we have that we are all letting our voices be heard. Okay? And I'm going to tell you something about these witness forms. I spoke to a representative the other day, and he told me that on one of these bills that they had been introducing and talking about, they had a stack of witness forms that was 5 inches thick. Now think about that. A ream of paper, printer paper, is 500 sheets, and it's about 1.5 inches thick. So you got to figure that 3 reams of paper, at least, or maybe 4, before you get to a 5-inch thick ream or pile. Now, that means to me, folks, that we are somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 people submitted these witness forms. That is a powerful statement to this assembly. That is a powerful declaratory statement. People are taking an interest, and that's what they need to know.
Yeah, Mike, I'll let you go. I'll have to try to get to one of those Erie lamps and get that done. Anyway, have a good day.
Thank you very much, brother. Talk to you soon. So, guys, make sure that you are signing up for the witness form. There is a link on our Facebook page. There is a link on our website, and it is critically important that you utilize those. We cannot afford to let this legislation pass us by. In other words, it is critical to the success and the continuation of our independent state and sovereignty for you to participate with this form. You say, and I hear it all the time, well, I'm only one person. My voice and my vote don't count. I beg to differ. In this case, it does. In this instance, your voice makes all the difference. You're speaking to state legislators. You're speaking to state representatives and state senators. You are giving them the strength and the conviction to stand up for you. But you must support them. You must let them feel that we have their back. You must make them understand that we are backing the play, that we are backing up the claim that they have made, that our state stands sovereign, our state stands independent. It's your job to say, that's right, and they speak for me. If you don't do that, how dare you complain if they fail? Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Yes, Mike. I've sent in your witness form first thing when I saw it this morning. I really believe we're rapidly approaching a time when we need to be thinking about civil disobedience on a massive scale.
Well, I've called for that in places like New York. I've called for that in New York. Now, we haven't...
Because every time we legislate something, they nickel and dime us. They piddle with us. It's time to ask for a constitution, our constitution, not a Republican constitution, not a Democrat constitution, the Constitution of the United States.
And that it be declared the sole and final arbiter of all law.
Exactly right.
Of all law.
But everybody in America, you go to a gun sale, we need to be making as many private, non-registered sales as possible. We need to make our thoughts clear on this. We need to just draw a line in the sand and not comply.
Well, listen, I've said it, and you've probably heard me say this yourself. We need Rosa Parks. Thousands of them, millions of them.
Right.
We need Rosa Parks like we've never needed Rosa Parkses before. We need individuals.
Like Magpul and Beretta that are threatening to pull out of the states. I mean, they need to do it. We need those. Hell, we need to roll out a red carpet for them. Tell them to come here.
We're doing that on March 5th at the Firearms Freedom Symposium. We'll be announcing in concert with Gun Owners of America and Sheriff Richard Mack and the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association and the Oath Keepers Association, oathkeepers.org, that we, and America's Voice Now included in that, are putting forth a proposal to any firearms manufacturer that will move here. We will provide them with a 20-year lease at no charge and no cost and expense to them, to provide them with a place where they can come here and set up a factory and produce and manufacture, and we welcome them with open arms. In fact...
So you mentioned all those people. Would any of them happen to be the State Department of Economic Development? We need people that will really get up and give
Well, we have our local Council of Governments in the form of SCOCOG that has stepped forward and is providing us with a letter on their letterhead that that they support it. And the city has stated, the city of West Plains has stated that they will provide us with a document that says we support this action. So basically what we have is our local community government supporting it. I don't care whether the state supports it or not. I mean, I'd love for them to. But, what's really critical is that we've got our local governments and our local counties willing to support this effort. So, hey, listen, thank you for the call. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
Folks, we're wrapping it for the day. Please join us tomorrow when we're going to have Mike Cunningham, the senator for our district here, to speak with us. We are going to talk specifically about 436 and SB 325. Probably more on 325 because he's a senator. But we will be talking about these issues tomorrow. I encourage you to join with us and participate. You can find us on the web at americasvoicenow.org. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. And you can find this particular episode on YouTube today at youtube.com/America's Voice Now. Remember what we say every single day.
Let's get
to the point. FM News Talk for the Ozarks is FM 107.1, The Point, KBMV, Virginia.
Radio. I'm Dave Anthony. The plows have a lot of snow to clear in Texas, over 1.5 feet in some places after a blizzard that's moving toward Chicago. Fox News Radio's Jennifer Kuipers. They're live.
Rain, sleet, and then 3 to 6 inches of snow is what we expect here in Chicago. The Texas and Oklahoma panhandles are digging out